consigliere should be somebody who you can trust, somebody who has knowledge, and somebody who can help direct the ship so you never sink.
In smoky rooms where deals are made, loyalty the ace he's played. A friend of ours, he'll stand up tall. Through gunfire smoke, he'll never fall. With heart of gold and steel resolve, a mystery we'll never solve.
Brothers and sisters, welcome back. Welcome back to another exciting edition of the Friend of Ours podcast. This is a limited edition series hosted by your main man, Duke Loves Rasslin, and of course, one of the greatest of all time, the Don himself, Big Vito LoGrasso. What's going on there, Vito?
Good afternoon, good morning, and never a good night. Hope everybody's doing great. Thank you again for all this love and support that you're showing the show. It has been booming off the charts. It has been something that I have been looking forward to week after week, and the family here is growing. Thank you again. Duke, I don't know what you're doing by pressing those, being a keyboard warrior, but you're doing a great job.
Well, hey, salute. I appreciate that, huh? You finally, instead of breaking my Stugats, you're over here actually giving me a compliment for a change. Can you imagine that?
You know something? You're trying to be a funny guy. You be the straight guy. Let me handle all the fucking jokes, all right? Because nobody's fucking laughing. The fuck? All you do is fucking laugh at my jokes, and then you want fucking donations. You know what I mean? Hey, you want to hear me laugh? Want to hear me tell a joke? You know who you remind me of? No, hold on. You want to know who you remind me of? You remind me of Andrew Dice Clay when he's in the airport. You want to take a picture? Do you want to take a picture with me? Who the fuck are you? I'm Andrew Dice Clay. But I'm Duke of Wrestling. Do you want to take a picture? You're fucking killing me. You're killing me.
Unbelievable. Listen, Andrew Dice Clay is still a big deal, all right? So I'm going to take that as a compliment.
He is a big deal if you fucking uncover his face, dye his hair black again, and, and do the fucking hickory dickory dock. All these chicks, you know what they're doing.
Listen, don't get us taken off the air now. Come on.
You want to know the funny thing? You want to know the funny thing? All right. And people who are listening, right? People have viewed me and they say, Vito is stern. He looks like a tough motherfucker. Don't go near him. He's fucking feared and all this. But I am the funniest son of a bitch you ever fucking met in your life. When you people listen out there, I know you're all fucking giggling and laughing and having a good time. Because when I do my impersonations and when I get on Duke, it's fucking funny shit. I should be on Howard Stern for this shit. I'd make Howard Stern look stupid.
Unreal. Listen, Howard, if you're listening, Vito wants to do business. So go ahead, reach out. Let's figure that out. All right, how about that?
Howard Stern,
throw that out.
Make it happen, all right? Let me advertise my show. Let me come on your fucking small studio show, okay? And let's fucking talk. And let's fucking go at it a little bit, all right? You got Howard Stern reality. I got fucking Big Vito reality. Let's see who wins. I bet you I get a spot on the show and an office.
Oof. Coming in hot. I'm telling you. You're going to take over the Howard Stern show next. What the hell? Jesus. What's old is new again, I guess, right?
Not what's old is new, but you want to know something, Duke? And this is the truth, guys. What's old? And I'm not saying old and is like age-wise. Old is something that, you have that's been like, been around. And I've been around for a long time. But it's new to you people because I'm actually doing something with my old that's bringing it to a new audience and doing something new with all the people who are listening. So the old is coming in hot with the new, with a new outlook, a better view. We're talking about something you want to hear. We're talking about something that's interesting. It's not long and drawn out. We do have funnies in the show, but when it comes to analyzing what we're doing, we're giving you constructive views of what we think. Shit, I sound like a college professor. This is unfucking believable.
Mr. PhD over here. All right, you're breaking it down. The doctor himself.
I'm a fucking doctor, you know what I mean? Like when you talk about Vito, what kind of doctor you want to be? I'm a fucking gynecologist. You know, I mean, give me two more people
Oh,
to see. I'll get my fucking degree. That's how fucking invested I am in being a gynecologist, all right?
you are a mess. Jesus. As Gorilla Monsoon would say, would you stop?
Yeah. You know what I mean? You know, it's not about what I stop, but people don't know Vito LoGrasso, and they get to listen to me on these shows, and they see, when I get the mic, I'm like dynamite. I just don't have to have no pipe bomb. I don't have to be on a special platform. But when I'm given the mic to do some damage, I do it, and I'm not saying damage in a bad way. I'm talking about entertainment value that people will pay for, people will look for, people will buy, people who want to enjoy some good old fashioned comedy.
Damn right. Damn right. Well, look, to everybody out there who continues to grow with us and what have you there, we thank you very much. We're just getting started, and we got some interesting things cooking up. In fact, little birdie told me that in the not too distant future, we may have some video on the horizon there. What do you think about that, Vito? You and I having to stare at each other on video while we talk about these things.
I think that would be a good concept, and I think for what we have cooking, and we have future plans, guys. I think that this is going to be something that you'll definitely want to see, definitely want to get into. And I don't want to pull the cat out of the bag, and I don't want to spill the beans, but we do have future plans for the show, and this thing is taking off better than what we had anticipated. Not that we thought it was going to be bad, but it has been um, it's like a newborn baby, and you have all this happiness, and you saying, "Wow, this is one of the greatest things that ever happened," which it is. We are one of the top shows out there. We have a great following. We're moving up the charts, and I don't do the analytics, but my analytics guys tells me that we are doing fabulous. So again, we want to thank all the people for listening. It's because of you out there that we're in this position and we're able to move forward. We're even talking about having video. We're talking about doing some other things. So the show is growing and doing some, we're making wonderful progress. And I thank you all again. Even you, Duke, even you.
Listen, that's two compliments in one episode here. You got to slow down, all right? People are going to start thinking
You
that
know,
you and I are friends.
guys, you want to know something that's even better? I say this show is top shelf, but I got to put a fucking step ladder so fucking Duke can get up there.
Oh, give me a break.
Oh
Give me a break. I keep telling you, me and this guy, we're Danny DeVito and Arnold Schwarzenegger. We're twins. We're twins.
my
You
twin.
know, it is what it is. Listen, I'll put it out there real quick, folks. Vito dresses like me, and I didn't realize it until he put up a picture of him wearing a shirt that is literally the exact shirt that I had, and my picture came out first. So this guy copies my fashion sense, and then he wants to have the audacity to break my balls on here. I just want to put it out there. He literally dresses like me.
Now, you see, now here's the fucking thing, guys. I just put, you know what? You're just such a bullshitter, all right? And you represent La Casa Nostra, right? But you fucking lie. You know what I mean? You lie because and then when we want to make you a made guy, or, my mom told me I'm not allowed to stick foreign objects in my hand, or I can't cut myself. I don't have enough band aids. You know what I mean? Like old customs. Oh, and you can't burn the card because I'm allergic to smoke. I mean, dude, get a pair. Anyway. So what it is I just recently put up a picture of me in hot buns, and it was a damn good looking picture. I mean, there I was, my Versace gold on, my scarf, shirt unbuttoned, showing off my jackness, you know what I mean, with beautiful hot blonde. We're sitting there, lakeside with the sunset, my favorite time of the evening. And Duke is over there saying, "Oh, look at that fucking Vito. We're stealing the spotlight again." And then he has to come up with, "Vito dresses like me, guys. Come on, give me a fucking break. All right? Give me a fucking break. Duke, if it wasn't for me, people wouldn't even recognize you. Okay?"
Listen, you're the one over here with the bald head, growing out your beard. You're dressing like me. It's like you're trying to impersonate me. Sometimes people think you're me. We can be honest about this now.
Duke, how the fuck am I going to be you if I have to walk on my fucking knees and be 4'11"? You're fucking killing me. You're really fucking killing me. I mean, really, seriously.
Oh my God! Listen,
Do,
you keep it
do,
up. I'm
do
going to
you
get
know?
that surgery to make myself taller. Keep it up.
No, no, you know what you're going to do? Guys, I got the solution for Duke, right? So, being that he wants to be me, watching the upcoming pictures of Duke loves wrestling, Duke is gonna get a shirt unbuttoned. He is gonna go spend, a chunk of change on some Versace jewelry. He's gonna buy a white, beautiful Versace shirt. Open it up, right? And then he's gonna sit there with a hot blonde. But what he's not gonna tell you is the blonde is a midget, so he can look taller than her. All right, so go fucking figure. You're into midgets now.
Listen, don't start this thing again with the midgets. For some reason, you got to think about the midgets. I don't know what this is all about here.
Midgets.com, the best friggin' place to meet chicks.
Friends in high places and low ones too. Midgets.com. There it is. There it is. They owe us a check now. All right.
Yeah,
All right. Listen, let's get on with the show here because you're
let me
killing me.
tell you something. There's some hot looking babes on midget.com. Nobody would ever go there or, admit that they go on the site. But fuck you all. I went on there. I was an activist. I promoted it. I said, look at this shit. These fucking bitches are hot. They're looking good. Right? You want to feel big? Go on midgets.com. You'll fucking outsize everybody.
You're giving out all your secrets now. I'm telling you.
Listen,
Jesus
this is the
Christ.
way it is, dude. All right? I'm trying to help you. All right?
Can we get on the rails here? We're off the rails. Can we get on the rails here?
It's better than going, "Hi, my name is Duke. You want to take a picture?"
You keep saying that. I'm going to do it too. I'll go viral doing that. All right?
No, I wish
I'm just
you
going to
would.
tell them I'm Vito LoGrasso.
I wish you would go to the subways in Boston, right? Put a hoodie on, put sunglasses on, walk around with a hat, and then fucking go and see people fucking, they don't have you arrested for being a vagrant. You want to take a picture? I'm Duke of Wrestling.
Unreal. Anyway, folks, this week we are continuing with our Sopranos series leading up to the big one, right? Tony Soprano is around the corner. We're not there yet, but we're getting there. I know folks have been asking, what are you gonna do, Tony? When are you gonna do, Tony? It's coming. And the best part about that is it may come in video form. So again, stay tuned for that. But this episode, we are going after one of the more complex, completely interesting, crazy characters who was also beloved. And we're talking about the one, the only Corrado Junior Soprano. So, Uncle June, first and foremost, Vito, before we get too specific, when you think about the Uncle Junior character, does that guy remind you of anyone that you've ever met in your life?
Well, I would have to say it reminds you of Vinny the Chin Gigante, somebody who was out of the limelight, wore a bathrobe, walked around, had dementia, couldn't think straight, but he was the underboss and he ran things from afar, had Tony Soprano as the front guy, but Uncle June was the brains of the operation. And, when it came to being the head of the family, Tony took all the flack. Tony ran everything, took care of Uncle June. He got a piece. I know he was under indictment. It all got taken care of. There was conflict. But when you talk about being smart and being, being the boss, but not being the boss, being the silent figure, Uncle June, Vinny the Chin, is not like the other gangsters that were out there. You talk about my uncle Lucky Luciano, he was out there. You talk about um, some other great guy like Carlo Gambino, or you talking about um, John Gotti. You talk about Paul Castellano, who were out there. You talk about some of the gangsters from Al Capone, who was notoriously out there. Uncle June was more suppressed, kept a low profile. That's because he was from the old school. You got to keep quiet. Got to make everything, hush hush. You don't showcase. You don't wear diamonds. You don't have a fur coat like an American Gangster. Like when Denzel Washington was portraying that character, he kept it like he was taught. No fur coats, no parties, no this, no that. Everybody knows you run things, and when it came time to take care of business, you did your thing, right? And that's how Uncle June wanted to run things. And when things needed to be done, they were done, and that was it.
That was it indeed. And it's funny that you bring up Vinny the Chin because here's a guy that would walk around in his bathrobe and his slippers, and his mouth and his tongue would be doing weird stuff. It was like he was crazy. Like something was wrong with the guy. Like you said, he was putting on an act, so the feds really didn't pay him any mind. Meanwhile, he was the guy who was running things behind the scenes, just like you said there. Um, so when you think about Uncle Junior, that actually happened in the series, where at one point he started claiming that he had dementia. But here's the crazy part. Correct me if I'm wrong, Vito, but it come to find out Uncle Junior actually did have dementia, right? Or was he just fooling everybody, including Tony and the family?
Nope. Uncle June did have problems. He did have dementia, right? Forgetfulness, increasing fear. Um, it was just one of those things that, having uh, old age come in, and like, when you get to be, have that, Alzheimer's comes into play, but it was never diagnosed on the show, but it was said to be a form of why he was like that.
And why he was like that. What do we mean about like that? For all of you folks out there who have watched the Sopranos series, and for some of you folks who are watching for the first time, let's really dig into Uncle Junior. Here's a guy who was the dominant male figure in Tony Soprano's life after Tony's father passed away. And Uncle Junior was the one that would do it all, take Tony to his baseball games, um, teach Tony right from wrong, really instill life lessons into him at a pivotal moment in Tony's career, life. Tony was a young man when his father passed away, and he was growing into a teenager, and so on. So Uncle Junior was, for lack of a better term, Tony's father in a lot of ways. But despite that, there was always friction between the two of them. And it's centered around the fact that Tony was rising up the ranks, and Uncle Junior is not going to take anything from these young punks, especially a young punk that he had to basically wipe his backside and teach him, what was what. So it's like, how are you going to tell me what to do? So it's very interesting where you have a situation where you have a young man and an uncle, and they're having these little mini feuds with each other that, before it spills over into something serious, it's just always this backbiting and talking trash to each other and giving each other a hard time and stuff like that. Have you ever seen something like that before, Vito, where you have a young guy on the rise and then another family member who's already made and already got things going on, and they have a little conflict as a result of that?
All the time. It's just called family business. And when there's, it's, the best way to put it is, I know people watch wrestling, and I'm going to say this, and this is not wrestling related, but this is something that everybody can attest to. And I'll bring up another point in sports. When Bruno Sammartino, the greatest Italian wrestler of all time, was retiring from wrestling, he wanted to carry his name. He had his son David come along. Everybody expected great things. There was conflict on how he should be pushed and how this should happen and what should happen, right? And living up to the expectations of, the father, causes friction in a family. Now, everybody could see that part. When you have somebody like LeBron James and he has a son, and that kid, I got to give 1,000 kudos for, because nobody gave him the time of day when he got drafted, but he has become the basketball player that his father has envisioned, right? So when you have a son and you are the son of a gangster, and you see the reins there, like Uncle June and Tony, and there is expectations on how things are supposed to be done. Uncle June did not like Tony's approach on how he did business. And the one big saying that Uncle June used that it sticks in my head: if you're gonna come big. If you're gonna come here, be packing. You know what I mean? Come heavy is the exact term. If you're gonna come heavy. So when it came down to it, Tony was the up and comer, and Tony was the heir apparent. Uncle June held on to his reign as long as he could, but he knew Tony was going to be the next in line, and that's where the friction came in. And you know what? Sometimes you don't want to give up your top spot. Sometimes you say, "Hey, slow down a little bit, all right? You got to do this and you got to do that." And then the old saying is, "What are you waiting for?" No, let's make it happen. Why do I have to wait? I'm here. I'm here. But it doesn't go like that. You know what I mean? And then when you know it was Uncle June's decision to shoot Tony, and it was how would you say it wasn't carried out, and if by eliminating Tony, it would have elevated Junior to take full power again. But when that didn't happen, that's when another episode of family problems came in. And you know what? Along with Uncle June's dementia and other health problems, it is, it made things difficult for Tony to be in charge.
It sure did. It sure did. And again, Junior was older. He was 70 years old when the Sopranos series starts. So you're taking orders from people who are 30 years younger than you? Come on. Tony Soprano was around 40 years old, right? When I think he was 38 years old when the series starts.
Right.
How do you take orders from a guy that young when you're that experienced? You were making your bones before this kid was even a thought in his father's head. Never mind being alive. So all the way back to when Jackie Aprio Sr. was the boss, Junior had to make amends with him because they ended up button heads and what have you. And Junior was afraid that, Jackie was going to wipe him out. So Junior actually left town for a period of time. And it was Tony and Big Pussy who had to set up the sit down where everything got straightened out. But Junior was irritated about having to tuck his tail, essentially, and make a deal with Jackie Aprio Sr. And he had to go through, again, his nephew Tony. He had to go through Big Pussy. These guys, and with Jackie Aprio Sr., they're all part of that same generation. It's like, you guys are going to wipe me out if I don't come here and humble myself. Like, this is crazy that I have to even do this. So there was always this resentment that we saw throughout the series from Uncle Junior having to even have a discussion with these guys. It's like, look, I should be able to tell you what to do and you go do it. I shouldn't be taking orders from you. So as we bob and weave, Jackie Aprio Sr., which we covered, he passes away of cancer. Now there's an opening. Somebody has to take over. Somebody has to be the boss. And indictments are happening at the same time, right? Tony Soprano finds out that the feds are going to be coming down on the family again. So he hatches this scheme where Uncle Junior is going to be named the boss. Meanwhile, Tony is going to be like the underboss who's going to be calling the shots and running the actual business, while Junior is just a figurehead. Like you said, exactly what happened with Vinny the Chin and the guy who Fat Tony. Vinny the Chin put Fat Tony as the figurehead. Well, meanwhile, he was running things, right? So it's ironic that you brought that up because that literally happened in history here. So talk to me about this whole nonsense here, where Junior is the figurehead, Tony is the real muscle, he's the real boss, he's the real one calling the shots, and the friction between the two of them. Because Junior wants it one way, but Tony's saying, no, we're going to do it this other way. And then everybody is confused about who they're supposed to be taking direction from. Well, Junior said we got to do this. No, we're not going to do that. It's gonna cost us money. Do it the other way. Tony says to somebody. Then somebody does it the other way. Then Junior's like, oh, he defied my orders. Go straighten that guy out. So now people are getting beat up and worse because they're not listening to the actual boss. They're listening to Tony, despite the fact that Tony's the one who's actually running things, whether Junior realizes it or not. What did you think of the way that they told that story, where it's this constant jockeying for power, especially within that type of setup there, Vito?
I have to tell you, it was just normal family business because a father and son, and they have a pizza place, and the father wants to do things in the old nostalgic way, but the business changes, and you have to update your service. It's just like the same business in a pizzeria, you know. And before it was just A and B, but now in today's society, it's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and everybody sees all the different pizza places that are out there advertising today and the showcases of food that's out there for everybody to eat and the glass cases of what you can have. Before, it used to be just you have a round pie or a Sicilian pie, there's sandwiches and, meatballs, eggplant. It used to be simple. Now they have so many different ways to showcase their Italian delicacies. It's just a changing of the times. And with Tony Soprano and Junior, it was a changing of the times, along with a changing of the guard. You had the old professor in Uncle June. You had the new professional in Tony Soprano. Both meant good things, but they wanted to do it in their way so people knew who was going to be in charge, the old way or the new way. That's where the conflict came in. If Uncle June didn't like the new way, you got spoken to. If Tony didn't like the old way, you got spoken to. And that's where the conflict really was, especially when Chrissy's friend got whacked by Junior. You know what I mean? And like in the bathtub, that was a show of what happened. And Chrissy wanted to whack Uncle June's on the boss, and then it didn't happen. And Tony wound up freaking going and beating the shit out of him, stapling shit to his chest, which was pretty cool. That was a Vito thing, but I mean, I thought it was really cool that he did that and he slapped the shit out of him. And that guy was a maid guy, worked for Uncle June. But Tony said enough of this fucking bullshit, and he whacked him. Eventually, Christopher got revenge on that guy, and the end result was he killed him.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, it comes down to who are we supposed to be taking direction from? Who's really in charge here? When you run any type of operation, any type of business, any type of setup, you gotta have clear leadership. And it can't be everybody. There's got to be one person who's the final word. It has to be that way. Even if you rule by committee, there's supposed to be a uneven number of people, right? So if you have a board or you have a committee and it's like we make decisions, let's say you got like a city council or something like that. Generally speaking, there's usually about 13 people on most city councils, town councils, things like that. 13, uneven. That means that somebody's always going to be the tiebreaker. It has to be that way, right? When you have confusion within leadership, that's where everything can go wrong. Because if I'm taking direction from Vito and then Noelle gets upset about it because she believes I'm supposed to be taking direction from her and she's the boss, she's gonna straighten me out over that. But if I don't listen to Vito, he's gonna straighten me out. So what am I supposed to do here? It's such an interesting thing because it's real life and everybody can relate to that. We've all gone through it. Who's the real boss here? How many times have you said to yourself, who's the real boss? Yeah, I know that you got the title, but it's the other guy who's always giving direction and holding me accountable. So who's the real boss here? You know? So that created a lot of friction. Um, as you said, Uncle Junior was traditional and he had to, you know, uphold a certain standard and a certain view of himself. And one of the most glaring examples of this is when the lady that he was having some fun with, she lets it slip out to her girlfriends, and then word gets around that Uncle Junior was very good at going down on her. And somehow, some way, this information gets back to Tony, and Tony starts making fun of Uncle Junior in front of all the guys about this. And he's making a joke, but Uncle Junior didn't find that funny because he's a traditional man. You don't talk about these things, and you certainly don't make fun of a boss. So Uncle Junior was very resentful when Tony was poking fun of him like that. He got rid of the girlfriend and everything. He was so pissed off about it. And eventually, during this time period, Uncle Junior finds out that Tony has been seeing a psychiatrist. So it's like, not only is this guy making fun of me, not only is he defying my orders and telling other people to listen to him instead of me, now he's telling all of our business to some shrink. Well, we can't have this. Uncle Junior orders the hit on his own nephew, Tony Soprano, because he was so frustrated with the guy on many levels there. And the hit was a botched hit. It didn't actually go down. It didn't work out. The guy who tried to kill Tony, he wasn't able to pull it off. But Uncle Junior ordered the hit. What do you think about that, Vito? The fact that the uncle would order a hit on his own nephew.
Uh, Bad family blood, but it was business. It wasn't personal. But when Mikey, was the one who was supposed to, order the hit, and the hit was botched, Uncle June wasn't happy about it. And now the cat is out of the bag that Tony was gonna, supposed to be assassinated. So Uncle June could take over, and that didn't sit good. And hey, you put a hit on somebody that goes wrong, and they find out you were the guy who put the hit, you're supposed to do it. That means now you are a target. And the worst thing of it all is when Tony's son goes to the hospital to see Uncle June, which is AJ, and because AJ believed in all of the things that Tony Soprano told his son and how they lived their life in the mafia way, and if your father was supposed to be hit, and I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. There was a time when my father was in a cafe, and my father was a little older, and he was playing cards, and he won, and somebody hit my old man, kicked him, and my father fell. So my brother went down there, And before that, my father came home and he told my brother what happened. So my brother said, "Okay, let's go." And my brother is like, you thought my temp is bad, but when it came to my father or my mother, it's three times the level. So my brother went in there, and my father pointed him out. My brother picked up a chair, cracked him over the head with it in front of everybody, beat the living piss out of him, and that was the end of that. I asked my brother afterwards. I said, "Why didn't you call me? I would have came down." He says, "No." He says, "If you would have did it, we would have had a bigger problem because I would have wound up taking out everybody in the fucking place." So it was just a one thing. But if somebody goes to put a hit on your father, what do? You retaliate. AJ went to the hospital with a knife and he wanted to stab Uncle June, but AJ wasn't that type of kid. But he represented his father because you can't go kill my father, take a hit. I'm supposed to come see you and be your friend. And you know what? Tony had every right to feel the way he did. AJ had every right to feel the way he did. And it just goes to show you when you mess with family members, family sticks together. Uncle June would do anything for Tony, but when it came to business, business is business, personal is personal. And I want everybody to remember that when they deal with their own lives out there. And this is not just some bullshit, guys, and it's not an Italian code. This should be for everybody out there listening. Somebody comes to your house and they want to beat up your father, beat up your brother, beat up somebody. What do? Do you stand there or do you retaliate? If somebody tries to hurt your family, what do? You step up, right? You show up. There have been plenty of times in my life, plenty, and I know I told Duke about a lot of different fights I've been in, and Duke knows a lot about my personal history. But you want to mess with me? That's fine. I don't give a shit how high rank you are in any family. I went to your house, and Duke could tell you he thought I was fucking nuts, but I was nuts. And if we were gonna fight in the street, and it was gonna be in front of people, you all knew, And I didn't lose, and I made sure I won. But you go to hit my brother, you go to hit my father, God forbid you even said anything to my mother or anybody else in the family. The LoGrasso family always showed up. When it came to my uncle being assassinated um, years back when I was a kid, it was my father who avenged the death. And people might not, know, they probably do not know this, but my father was the oldest. He had eight brothers, and it wasn't a time when my father didn't show up and take care of business because you're the oldest, just like my brothers. And when it came time for me to show up, you fuck with my brothers, I'm coming to see you. Come mess with my kids, I'm coming to see you. You fuck with my wife, you better call fucking ambulance. So, understanding what the family business is business, personal is personal. And it goes for everybody out there. Don't ever let nobody step on your family toes or anybody put a hurt on somebody. And if you don't fucking stand up for your family, you're not really a family man. You're just some passerby, and you let people stick a finger in your face, and you never let that happen.
Whew. This is why this show is so interesting, because just hearing the family history and the experiences that Vito has, had in his life and how it fits into some of this stuff, it's just fascinating. Fascinating stuff, man. Um, so again, we got a botched hit on Tony. Tony eventually finds out that Uncle Junior is responsible for the botched hit. So now it's like, I got to do something about this. Well, at the same time, Uncle Junior gets indicted. And now he's on trial, federal trial, racketeering, the whole 9 yards here. So it's not like Tony can touch him. Fast forward, Uncle Junior ends up getting off. Unbeknownst to everybody, the dementia gets worse. People are thinking that something is off, but they don't realize how off it really is. Tony goes by the house to visit Uncle Junior, check on him, and Uncle Junior thinks that he's some kind of intruder coming after him. So Uncle Junior actually shoots Tony. He tried to kill him because he thinks he's an intruder. And Tony almost died, you know? Now, by itself, it wouldn't be a big deal, except for the fact that this is a guy who ordered a hit on him before. So it's like, what's really going on here? Right? Somehow, some way, Uncle Junior is he's not held accountable for what he did. Instead, he's put in a mental institution. So he got a hell of a lawyer to be able to pull that one off. While in the mental institution, Tony's son, AJ, goes to visit Uncle Junior, and his plan is he's going to kill Uncle Junior for trying to kill his father twice. And AJ was ready to do it, and then he got nervous and the knife dropped, and that's when people realized what he was actually there to do. So he ends up getting hemmed up on that. We go a little further in the series. Uncle Junior's not doing too well. Dementia is crushing him. He ran out of money. Tony had to chip in and help out, which is crazy. A guy who tried to kill me twice, and I got to help preserve his life. But he did it because he still felt an obligation to take care of his family. And the interesting part about it is, and I just realized this now thinking about it, Vito, Uncle Junior technically survived the Sopranos series. The last time we see him, he's in the institution, and Tony is talking to him and realizing that Uncle Junior doesn't even remember him. He doesn't even know that this is Tony. He just knows that he's a guy that he used to play catch with. And Tony is telling him, "Oh, you and my father, you guys used to run New Jersey. Like, you guys were a big deal." And Uncle Junior's like, "Really? Me? Oh, wow. That's great." And Tony is just sad because he realizes that the guy that he knew as Uncle Junior no longer exists. You just have this old dementia patient who is withering away. But Tony walks away, tears in his eyes, and he allows the old man to wither away as opposed to doing something to him, despite the fact that this guy made multiple attempts on his life. The conflict, Vito, that is going on there internally, where you got to do the right thing even when other people have severely wronged you over and over and over again. What did you think about that? What did you think about the way that they told that aspect of life?
Well, like I said, Uncle June is family. And what do you do with family? Do you take care of them? For better or worse, for sicker or poor, you're married. You know what I mean? And being the way Junior was, and the way the feelings that Tony had for his uncle, those are real feelings, and you don't forget. I will tell you this part, okay? Okay, let's put it in better perspective, because I have real life, experience in these things. My old man, was he a great father? No. Was he a great husband? No. He was my father. Um, did my father always do the right thing? He made some mistakes. But there was one uncle, my Uncle Ross, who always made sure that my mother had money in her pocket and we had food on our table. And that was my father's brother. And when push comes to shove, even till today, even though my Uncle Ross is not here, I never forgot what he did for me as a kid. And that sticks in your mind, because out of all the uncles I've had, that guy went out of his way to take care of me, my brothers, my mother. He made sure we had. And I'll never forget him coming to my house, giving my mother money, invited me to his house. Haircuts for all of us, you know what I mean? Because he was a barber. But family sticks together. Tony stuck with Uncle June. Um, no matter what happens in the family, no matter what squabble you have, guys, I guess Italians are a little bit different. It's still your family. You fight with your brothers. You don't speak for years, but when you come down to it, hey, you still talk. The relationship will never be the same, but you never forget how close you guys were at one time. Now, me and my brother, we've had a couple of differences, but when life was tough for him, I was, I was the guy. You know what I mean? And even when we weren't speaking and he was in trouble, I was the guy. You know what I mean? It just goes with what you're doing. And like, maybe my brother didn't do the right thing sometimes, but I overlooked it and you brush it aside being the older brother, and you just make sure you put your feelings aside. You always do what you got to do. Tony did what he had to do for his Uncle June. And no matter what, family sticks together. The dementia, the understanding, Tony being the head of the family. And again, guys, when you're the head of your household and you're the head of your family, you got to sit there and think of things like, okay, how am I going to handle this rationally? The first thing you want to do is explode. But then you got to think of the repercussions of you exploding. Then you got to sit and think of a solution that maybe you don't want to do, but you have to do because of the way you're brought up. Again, the way you are brought up. There have been many times, I didn't want to do something or things were put on my lap as the oldest that I did not want to do, but I did. There were times when my old man um, needed help and I helped him because he's my father, whether I liked it or not. And today, the way I rectify everything is I think of the good things and never the bad. You can't change the bad, but you never forget the good. And that's a lesson for everybody out there, you know? And same thing with my mother. My mother might not have been, you really can't say nothing bad about my mother because she had it tough. But she never got to enjoy the success that me and my brothers had because she passed away early. But if she was here, things would be different. And when anything ever happened in the neighborhood because my mother's father and her brother were connected, God forbid you did anything or said anything, things were handled in the neighborhood. Everybody knew who we were, everybody knew what was what. So it was like, okay, one of those things. But when it came to my father and my grandfather, you talk about friction there, it was hot, hotter than hot. You can't even believe. You talk about an Uncle June and my grandfather, Uncle June, my grandfather, you talk about my father and my grandfather, that the dislike. But when it came to my mother and my brothers, and if my mother really, really, really needed it, my grandfather helped out. My Uncle Joe is another one, you know what I mean, who helped and did things. It's just family, guys, and this is the way Italians are. And, being that I come from a family legacy and understanding Italians and what they're brought up on, this series of The Sopranos is not far fetched. It's lived. This is how we do things. No matter how explosive and how much you hate each other, how much you want to kill each other, God forbid you lay a hand on somebody, you're gonna get yours.
Indeed. Indeed. And that's family first, man. Family above all. Uh, Again, interesting stuff here when you've been wronged by family and you still got to find a way to show up for them. Wow, deep stuff there. that does it for Uncle Junior. Very complex character, very relatable character, and I thought that the series did an excellent job telling his story. Probably one of the better stories in the entire series, the Uncle Junior character, because he was a real person, like legitimately, you understood where he was coming from. Doesn't mean he was always right. In fact, he was he was often wrong, but you got it. You understood it, and the way that everybody else had to deal with his insecurities, his temperamental behavior, his failing health and how that impacted things. Just really, really interesting stuff that as you get older, you understand it even better. You know, everyone's going to have to go through that at some point. You watch your loved ones get older, and there is a transition that happens where at some point you kind of start becoming a decision maker, and they become the person that's supposed to be, to a certain degree, taking direction from you. You know, most of us are going to go through that in life. So it's just it's interesting to watch that play out on a show like that when the stakes are so high, literally life and death. Crazy stuff, man. You know.
You know, you know,
Anyway,
Duke. I want to like say something. Like you talk about like Italians and like and, like I have a lot of history and there's a lot of things that happened in my family that it is real life and it really is true and it's not me bullshitting. But um, there was a time where um, my brother was in trouble and he had to leave to go to Italy for 6 months. You know, pretty real stuff. You're on alert. You say, "Hey, what's going on?" You find it out, and took a trip, and you know, if my brother was in trouble and I was around, I handled it, right or wrong, good, bad, or indifferent. I always say that's my brother. Go fuck yourself. Ain't nobody touching him, and that's just the way it was. You know what I mean? Your family's never wrong until you get behind closed doors, and then you speak your piece. And then you get, what the fuck are you doing? You put us all in fucking jam. We're like, what the fuck? But out in public, your brother, your mother, your father, anybody is never wrong. Now, my father might have been in that coffee place. He could have been shooting his mouth. He could have thought, the guy took a liberty. But it was handled. And thank God my brother did it, because if he didn't do it, I was going to do it. And if I would have did it, that whole fucking place would have been lit up. They would have had to send me to fucking Siberia. So, I mean, and back then, I was a fucking loose cannon, and God forbid anything happened. It was on, guys. It was on. Thank God I'm here with my consigliere, you know, Duke Duke of Wrestling. He's the new Tom Hagen in my life, and good things. We calm things down a little bit, just a little bit, just a little bit.
yeah. So if I'm Tom Hagen, I'm going to say, Vito, your father and I had big plans for you in your future.
He did.
And then you're supposed to say back to me, you're having conversations with my father about my future.
Now, you want
What a
to know
G.
something? You know what? My father, like we talk about that. You could see. I mean, it's out there, right? My father did not want me to be a ball player. My father did not want me to be a wrestler. He didn't think thought I was wasting my time playing ball, and he didn't understand it. He thought I should be working or come into family business and do stuff like that. And I just, his plans for me were to be a worker, and that's the way he grew up. That's the way I was supposed to grow up. And then one day I said, "Didn't you play soccer or didn't you do any of this?" He says, "Yeah, as a kid, but then I had to go to work." He says, "And you need to do the same thing." And it was just a changing of the times. You know what I mean? And you talk about a father who came over from the other side, knew one way to do things, and his son was supposed to follow in the footsteps. And hey, I, guys, when it came to taking a slap, a punch, taking a beating from your old man, I took some of the best of them. That's when You were straightened out by your parents, and there was no cop calling. There was no, agencies. There's no nothing. You took it and you shut the fuck up. My brothers told me all the time, you took some of the best beatings we ever seen. How'd you see it? We were hiding under the table, but you never cried. Well, thank God for watching. I should charge you admission. But I mean, it was just that was just the way it was. And this is the way you grew up, just like in The Sopranos, just like in real life, just like in my life. And when you talk about the scenarios that are happening that are portrayed on TV, I experienced these things in real life. So it's not bullshit. So there you have it, Tom Hagen.
Deep stuff. Folks, next episode, we're going to be covering the women of The Sopranos. We're talking about Carmela, Tony's wife. We're talking about Tony's mom, Livia. And if we have enough time, we may even get into Dr. Melfi. So, definitely a packed episode talking about the women of The Sopranos. And we're leading up to it, folks. We're only about an episode or two away from the Tony Soprano episode. And like I said, we got something special lined up for that. You do not want to miss it. Looking ahead beyond that, we're going to be talking about the Godfather series. You've heard us, throw things in here, a little bit here, a little bit there, but we're going to go all the way. All three Godfather movies, we're going to do a deep dive on that in the not too distant future, and that should be fun. We're going to give everybody some time. Go out and see that movie, The Alto Saints?
Yeah, Alto
Is that what it's called there?
Yeah.
The Robert De Niro movie that just came out. We'll give everybody a couple weeks to go check that out. It's definitely something that we're going to be covering on the show as well, since it's fresh. Tells an excellent story, and you got De Niro playing two characters, so we'll see how well he does at that. But big things coming around the horizon, so to speak, for the Friend of Ours podcast. And again, we appreciate all of you for tuning in each week, spreading the word, keep it going. In fact, Vito, what's the best way people can keep up with you?
All right, guys, you know the name, The Big Vito Brand. We're on Twitter, which is X. We are on Instagram. We are on TikTok, and we also are on YouTube, The Big Vito Brand. Guys, you can get in touch with me by looking at my website, bigvito.com. You also can get in touch with me by email, bigvito@bigvito.com. Guys, we got a lot of good things coming up. We got some business to discuss. We got plans. We got future. We got everything. It's not going to be a pizzeria, but it's going to be something that you'll enjoy.
Indeed. Of course, as always, Duke Loves Rasslin, Facebook, Twitter, DukeLovesRasslin@gmail.com. Let me know what you think of the show. If you check out the Big Vito Brand on YouTube, folks, please hit that subscribe button so you never miss what's on the horizon. I think something special is going to be happening soon on that YouTube channel, so stay tuned. With that said, let's close it out with our word of the week, Vito.
The word of the week is fachim.
Wait, didn't you use that one already? I think you used that one already.
All right, how about this one, because I'm in a mood? Disgraziado.
You used that one already too. Stugats. What is a Stugats?
You want me to say fucking Stugats?
Since we're talking about the Soprano, didn't Tony name his boat the Stugats?
Yeah, the Stugats. So we're gonna end it with the fucking Stugats. You know, Duke, you fucking laughing way too much in this fucking thing. You're having too much of a good time. I'm glad you're allowed out of the house and your wife gives you time. You know what I mean, Tom Hagen?
All right. I was gonna say. So, in the words of Michael Corleone, you're out, Tom.
You're out, Tom. Maybe I could help out. No, you're out, Tom. All right, fucking go sit with the women and children.
A friend of ours, he'll stand up tall. Through gunfire smoke, he'll never fall. With heart of gold and steel resolve. song.